Greetings and welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny, trying to be smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. Stormy weather a brewin'. I am your captain, Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have.
Stuck in a pattern buffer, Paul.
Oh, that pattern buffer. And Clyde is on an away mission, taking some cadets across a very icy planet in peril, hopefully to return very soon.
Yeah, that was beautiful, Murray. We did it. We did it, everyone.
As we have said before, we are currently rewatching Star Trek Discovery in preparation for its 5th and final season, which is coming in April 2024. This week, we're diving into the first half of season 4 with episodes 1 through 6. Just a couple of reminders to get us started if you're new to the pod, so you have all the information at your hands. And welcome if you're new to the pod.
We are going to be great today. We're going to be great.
We're going to be so great today. You don't even know, guys. I have definitely not been in trauma-informed reporting mode all day. It's going to be a great time.
We're going to be Lieutenant Tilly great.
Lieutenant Tilly, great. Paul, where could people find links to all the things that they should know about the podcast?
Hey, if you would like to subscribe to our podcast, do so at Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you love or hate, or it's a spectrum, guys. It's a spectrum.
Strong feelings.
Our content, please consider joining our Patreon for just $2 an episode at patreon.com/StarTrekPod.
Indeed. And if you are watching us tonight live on YouTube, we would love to hear from you. What did you think about this first half of the season? What are your thoughts now that we're returning back to the world of the DMA and old twirly mustache Tarka? Oh, I'm ready to talk about Tarka. And if you are too, you can join us in the chat with capital P, capital O, capital D, capital pod. I might have even spelled that incorrectly. POD, pod, in caps in the chat. We'll take note of that and bring it up on the screen and try to comment and explain any of our terrible thoughts and feelings or great thoughts and feelings. Okay, I think it might be time for us to give some
rapid Riker.
It may be time for a rapid Riker. What did you think about the first half of this season so far?
I'm not gonna lie, season 4 is probably my least favorite. Not because I think this is actually Burnham's most consistent, acting as far as as a character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in fact, I would say all the acting is pretty solid. I guess for me, there's the main plot of the DMA, which I think works great. But then there are all these side quests, side traumas that everyone goes through.
We love a side trauma.
And I'm going I don't know if I'm losing focus on the thing that's really hooking me. Whereas in the other seasons, there were, I knew what I was focusing on. Right. So in here, I still, we're halfway through, and all we got about the DMA, which is supposed to be the big bad, is that it's outside of the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it just seems and then we're adding some Zora trauma on top of it, and so trauma on trauma on trauma. I'm going I don't know what I'm focusing on. So I think that style of storytelling is a little not Star Trek-y for me in a way that what I want. Does that make sense?
It's not. Yeah, it's like you're craving an ice cream sandwich and someone handed you granola and yogurt.
In a way, I made a cheesecake yesterday with camembert, and I replaced the Trader Joe's camembert with a French camembert, which is 3 times as more expensive. And it's not as good as my wife said. It kind of smells like ham.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Frenchier you go with the cheese, the stinkier it's gonna be. So
yeah, no. So I have 3/4 of a hammy cheesecake in my refrigerator, and I kind of feel about the first half of season.
I'm sorry, a hammy cheesecake just really settled in for me.
Yeah, no, and so yeah, I see what it's doing, and I feel like it's getting its rhythm but like
Mhm.
it just isn't coming together for me.
Yeah, to Kian's point, it's a bummer it takes us so long to finally meet Tensi, hashtag spoiler alert for the latter half of the season. But yeah, I think to me, I the first episode to me was so exciting in a lot of ways
Hmm.
because I felt like we were going to get uh, I look back at some of my old notes from originally
Hmm.
watching this season, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get them bopping around planet to planet,
Yep.
delivering dilithium." And it's like it kind of becomes that. I guess what we've kind of gotten with Strange New Worlds, right? It's like
Hmm.
kind of
Yep.
the adventure of the week on a different planet, and then even with the addition of the gravitational distortion at the very beginning, the DMA that we now
Mhm.
know it as now, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be part of the driving force to go from, like,
Sure. Planet to
galaxy to
planet.
galaxy, planet to planet," like, great, I'm down. It's like we're trying to give everyone resources they need to survive this potentially, like,
Sure.
really intense thing. Um, but I do remember being so emotionally, like, I feel so bad for
And
Book this entire season.
and here's the thing that I hate. I hate because it's not enough to be acting well. And it's not the actor's fault. Like the
Mhm.
actor's doing fine, It's everything to do with like I don't know if I want to just hang out and watch someone like grieve for like, seven
Yeah,
seven
I
episodes. Six that yeah.
yeah, I like, and later, I think post 6, we get kind of more like we get Book kind of a bit
Angry.
more on angry, which I appreciated the switch there. And like I enjoy the push pull of like I'm not trying to be like my father. He was so angry, but I'm like,
Mhm.
I think you deserve to be angry. Your entire freaking planet was destroyed. Like I would be
Well, when
like
my homeworld got
moving.
destroyed, I wasn't as angry at all. Like I just came, I settled, I found myself, a lovely wife and baked a hammy cheesecake.
I mean, cheesecake. But yeah, I think I'm always looking for part of what I do love about Discovery is usually it is bringing me into a conversation about like the larger political sphere. And I know
Mhm.
that this particular season they were talking a lot about like something that truly affects everyone, right? Like this isn't just a problem for just the Federation, it is
Mhm.
a problem that the entire galaxy has to kind of come together on. And so I do enjoy the more political episodes, but
But
starting with
you go finish.
I was like starting with Kobayashi Maru, which is directed by Olatunde Onsunsame, written by Michelle Paradise, Jenny Lumet, and Alex Kurtzman. I wanted to get your pulse on, this becomes a bit more of some political thriller this season, or at least I don't know if thriller is the right word,
Sure.
like political drama.
There you go.
Um,
It's a House of Cards in the
House
Federation.
sure.
Uh,
um, what did you think
it,
of
it's no
President?
Klingon Game of Thrones, by the way.
It's no Klingon Game of Thrones,
Like
which
like hashtag like Paul Myrriah for life. You know
yes, Klingon Game of Thrones
that's right.
will happen at some point. What did you think off the bat of President Rillick and like her sort of asserting herself in those first two episodes?
Like I like the idea of Rillick, and I like the execution of Rillick throughout the episode, except for the first episode. Like
Mhm.
because it just gets really weird when you're on a ship and you're in a middle emergency and then you stop the captain
You're
and go
just
like,
playing weird mind games.
yeah, like that's just really weird. Uh,
Like you
but
don't think maybe you talk about that with Burnham afterwards, like, hey, why did you decide you had to go?
it's just one of those things where like I'm not buying that in a way. Like I don't think that's how
Mhm.
the universe works. Like here are people in danger and the person in charge. Like I think committee works great when there isn't like
A
like
ticking time bomb.
yeah, like right, sometimes someone has to make a decision in times of stress, and I think with a space station hurling out of control and about to blow up into
Mhm.
it just seems like not correct of what would happen.
Yeah,
Other
and this
you go.
I was like, they seem to do that a fair amount this season because, like, in watching episode 6 today and prep for this, it's like when Oo goes up to Saru as they're, like, trying to get
Yeah.
pattern buffer and is like, let me tell you about the traumatic incident that led to my behavior.
I'm like,
I was like, this couldn't
ugh.
happen after when everyone's
Or,
okay.
or like in private, like
Or in the,
like
even in the moment when it
or
first
or
happened.
yeah, or in a podcast, like it could have been like, but like on the bridge, that's just silly.
Yeah. But anyway, but there's a lot of things I'm still like enjoying throughout.
Mhm.
I'm really liking the kind of renewal of the Federation, getting to see some of the
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
meant like I enjoy the mental gymnastics. I enjoy the political drama that is being set up this season. And those I think are some of the more successful episodes to me.
sure, sure, I agree.
E- yeah, even in I guess jumping to two, like in Anomaly, which is again directed by Olatunde Onsunsame. This one was written by Anne Coffell Sanders and Glenise Mullins. Um, I enjoy this episode. I was like, sorry, y'all, I'm reading through my notes. I love the pair up of Book and Stamets. And I enjoy when we get to see characters we don't normally put together.
Sure. No, I
The
thought
only
that
thing
was
that would
great.
have made it better was if you slapped Reno in there.
Yeah. Like, no, I think that was great. I think that worked great. I think, like they find clever ways to uh explain why books ship can, transform.
Mhm.
Here's an advantage. It can go through like an accretion
Well,
disk.
yeah, they've explained that before, I think in a
Mm,
previous season, like the reason his ship can transform is because like the way the warp channels have been since the burn.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no,
I
no,
remember had a lot
yeah,
of debris or whatever,
yeah, yeah,
but
I see it, like, and you just keep on trying to find more ways to, to justify it.
yeah.
Sure, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, and then the other like, the subplot to me that I did find really beautiful in these first few episodes is about, Gray finally getting to be in their body and sort of like the metaphor that they're using there, and I think given the political atmosphere, both of when this season came out and even more currently, like
Mhm.
having trans representation and I think the use of the trill, but also with actual trans actors and characters is such like a great way to like double, triple down on like these are important stories that need to be told. And here's like a way to do it in an interesting sci-fi way. I've enjoyed Gray's journey.
Yeah, no, I mean, I suppose, but like it goes, why are you giving him like 900-year-old technology?
With the from John Luke Picard because it
Yeah,
wasn't it like outlawed in a weird way or something like that.
but it just seems like, it seems like sort of, I don't say ridiculous, but like it just seems like
Well,
fan service to call it out, but like
I
it was.
yeah, definitely some fan service there, but I can see some justification of like it wasn't really working very well and then like it just wasn't necessary, you know.
Oh, sure, I get it, but like, at what point do you go, hey, Mariah, you're sick, you have something that's going to change your entire life, here's this 900-year-old technology that we found in the archives.
Hey, if
That-
it works, I mean penicillin's freaking old, guys. Like
it's not
and I
900 years old.
it's not
It-
900 years
it-
old because
but
modern
I suppose
medicine is
people
not
still,
900 years old.
I suppose people still use leeches in some places, so I don't
Yeah.
know, yeah.
I mean, there's been a big resurgence in quote unquote all natural medicine, which is
Yeah,
a whole
yeah,
different podcast to talk about.
yeah,
But yeah, it is like an interesting nod, but I will give it to the idea of the burn and
yeah. No,
the distortion of communication.
I see it as a fan service. It's totally
Mhm.
fine, you know.
We've
But
gotten way more in other shows,
yeah,
so
yeah, no, no, yeah. It was just a really weird thing, as far as
yeah,
like,
even not to just say like, oh, it's updated from something that was started this
yeah,
time, or
yeah,
like,
like
oh,
it
the
could have been
origins
anything.
of this started here, and this
Like
is what we have now.
there's no reason why this isn't a common practice. It
Yeah.
need not be. I don't know. It was just really weird to me.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, jumping into three with Choose to Live, which is directed by Christopher J. Byrne, written by Terry Hughes Burton, excuse me. This was one I remember kind of not liking originally as much, but I enjoyed on the rewatch a lot more.
Mm,
What did you think about the Romulan Navarre
yeah, yeah, yeah.
political back
So,
and forth?
this Choose to Live is the is the one where
Quatma.
we what's her name? Murder Nun, right?
Oh, yeah, Murder Nun, Quat Malat. We have
Yeah,
Gabrielle.
yeah. And so I know this is gonna be a hot take, and I apologize, but I'm not a big fan of the Romulan murder nuns. You know,
Whoa,
like, well, I know. I said
whoa,
it was hot. I said it was hot. It was a take.
that is spicy.
And I don't know why. Like I'm a person who tries to be, fairly candorous. Is that a word? Like so, but like th- they just they just seem really like just unfortunate to be around for narrative reasons. Does that make sense? Like, like you're like, oh, there's gonna be no subtlety about my behavior. I'm just gonna here's what
But I
I
think
say.
they're even
Like
even with like
what what do you find interesting about them?
it's like even with how brutally honest they are, it still feels like a weird riddle. And I don't
Oh,
know, like,
I mean, it's weird,
yeah,
and I like I'm pro woman. I'm pro Romulan, and
yeah,
I'm pro murder. Maybe I'm not so pro with the nun aspect, but like 3 out of the 4, I'm really
3
pro
out of
these
the 4.
things.
It's very
And
interesting you say pro murder over pro none.
like
Oh, man,
uh,
but yeah, I think it was, like, obviously such a big, like, stick in the mud kind of character, but I think I enjoyed seeing Burnham have to work her way
mhm,
around it and find a way to, like, essentially get what she wants, but not in the way that
mhm,
she thinks she's going to get it, and I enjoyed that it was more of a game of mental and like political game than what we had seen in like it wasn't like who can do the math the quickest and give
mhm,
us some like I love all the scientific explanations especially when they are rooted in like real actual science, but to me it was like an interesting like I don't know dip over to a different direction to see
mhm.
like how she had to work her like intellect in that way.
Like I suppose like what I'm having a little issue with this first half of the season is I feel like there's setting up for Burnham moments or Burnham soliloquies at the end of each
Mm.
episode. Does that make sense? And I don't feel like I'm loving that.
You don't think
And
it's like a bit of a nod, I feel like, to Star Trek of the past? Because to me, that feels the most like
I
90s Trek.
and I do agree with that, but like I feel like it's landing on exposition from Burnham as opposed to like here we saw it feels like less of a we situation and a her thing.
Mm,
Does that make sense? And I think
I could see that.
and don't misunderstand me. I don't have a problem with her getting her moment, but like
Mhm.
for 6 episodes, it seems like that's not my favorite.
Yeah. Well, do you think that's ultimately because like and I've seen like there's been some comments, as we've been reviewing and like how we've often discussed like we don't really have like a huge backstory on all of our bridge crew, but like
Mhm,
as other people have pointed out, the core cast of this show is not the bridge crew. It is Burnham, it is Stamets, it is Saru, it is Tilly. We're kind of our
mhm,
core four, and then we've kind of
sure,
added in Book and probably Culber. I'd say as our
sure.
other main plot point character
Mhm,
drivers, right? And so it is interesting that it isn't like all those people do work together, but it's kind of like they're not the ones we're seeing on the bridge every single time we're in
mhm,
like these big moments. We're having to cut back to engineering, we're having to cut to medical bay, or
mhm,
like people are having to come and go. And I wonder if because it isn't this like core four, that we've seen on most other shows that are always sitting in the big chairs
mhm.
at the front of the ship, if that creates like some disconnect within
Maybe,
how we're
maybe like
approaching.
like it literally could be because I don't respond to sci-fi. No, no, I mean, like it could be a lot of things. I don't know what it is. What it seems to me is like I actually know Burnham's story. I actually
Mhm.
know Saru's story. I know Tilly, and I
Yeah.
know Culber. Like and I suppose you know what it might be, and I don't want to be this way about it because it sounds like it sounds weird, but like her solution is almost some form of empathy, just in the same way that Kirk's solution is always some form of like do this, and watching. I don't think if I were to watch original Star Trek, you know, right now for the first time, I go like, oh, he's really just really dogmatic. He's very patriarchal in a way that like is not. It probably sit the wrong way because I don't feel like there's
Mhm.
kind of a balance in perspective.
Mhm.
Like there's this, very few people say to Book, okay, you gotta just suck it up and do it. Everyone says to Book, like, I understand how bad it is. Like, it
Mhm.
really sucks to lose your planet. As a person who I get it, but like,
Yeah, is it then, like, too grounded in realism, and it's not, like,
but
fictitious enough?
this is the interesting thing. Like, I think this the one thing that Discovery it plays against that like all the other ones don't. Like, it plays more with psychological realism.
Mhm.
And I think it's a harder road to toe. And I'm not judging it for not always hitting, but like I can't just say like because you tried something harder means that like like means I give you a buy all the time. It just feels like in this case here, we're really playing with a lot of like character work,
Mhm.
and all the character work isn't really that new, considering that we've been with these people for 3 seasons and they have the same kind of uh
Yeah,
damage.
it is
Does it make sense?
it yeah, no, I think it's probably, like, to me, I wonder if it's because it feels like a lot of repeat damages.
Hmm.
Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, it's
Hmm.
always, like, such a huge it's never like we're gonna slowly adjust your character because things are changing. It's like someone died and now your world is crushed, or
Hmm.
the world has ended and now your world is
Hmm.
crushed, or you have to leave everything you've ever known. You know what I mean? It's never like um it would be like fun to see a truly small stakes episode. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
no,
mean?
yeah, 100%, like a lower decks episode where
Yeah,
the yeah, no,
and I
100%.
wonder if there was more of that balance of like, yes, there's this impending thing, but where are those like kind of and I think that's probably why I mean it is still huge, but I think it's probably why I enjoy like the Adira and Gray
Hmm.
storyline, especially like I really liked watching Gray work with Zora in this like
Hmm.
seemingly simple way to like solve this problem, even with the giant ticking time bomb of like
Hmm.
the ship is going to self just, like be
Be
crushed
eaten.
by this,
Yeah.
be eaten by space essentially.
Hmm.
Um, but it was like, oh, I wish there were more of those moments of like the episode starts and it's like Zora's being wonky, so we're stuck in space, like space dock, and then it is like Gray who's like, well, let's just play this game and like figure this out while there
Hmm.
is like I don't know, like
No, no,
a Hugh and Culber like relational argument going on, and then like Michael
like
and Burnham are processing. Like I don't
yeah,
know,
no,
it would just be nice to like pump the brakes a bit.
yeah. I mean, like this season is about like catastrophe and trauma, and the
Mhm.
trauma from it, right? Again, there's always trauma on Discovery.
There's always trauma in Star Trek, yeah.
And so in this way, like everyone is dealing with this situation. Culber is falling apart again. He's like he's having to keep everyone together, and now he's falling apart. You know, like the only person who's really steady, the two people who are really steady, are Saru uh, and Burnham.
Yeah,
And Burnham is not really that steady because she's worried about her man. Because he's so fine apparently.
apparently you have to add a qualifier. Hello.
Anyway, so she's spending a lot of time, like like emotionally trying to be there for him, which she
Yeah.
should as a partner. I get it,
Mhm.
but she also has to run a ship, and she's doing that right too. Uh,
Yeah. It felt like
but
she was trying to be like, Stamets, be helpful emotionally and in this way of providing like a distraction, and I think
yep.
it is interesting though, and like it kind of goes past where we've watched, but like once we do introduce Tarka, I think who is like a more radical, his tactics are more radical than I think we have typically seen. He's kind of playing that opposite
Mhm.
counterpart to the Federation in that way, and like for his own reasons that will be revealed as we continue to rewatch. But um, it's an interesting commentary to make of like, oh, when people are at their lowest is also when they're the most vulnerable to these kinds of people who can manipulate them.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Um, yeah,
that's the maximum of my life.
that's how
I, l-
Scientology gets you.
that's right. I learned that from my murder nun friends.
Your murder nun friends are ready to go. Oh, Kim brings up a good point. Saru's steady as long as he's not dealing with
That's
Tarina.
I'm gonna say it, that's my favorite part of the season.
They are great. I
I mean,
love them.
I'm like watching this Vulcan, like Kelpian love story meet
It's
cute,
great.
and
It's the thing that can only happen on Star Trek.
and it's really like, oh, here's some tea. Oh well, thank
Mhm,
you. Oh, Kelpian tea. I really appreciate that. Like
mhm.
it's like Downton Abbey or something.
Very Downton Abbey. Like, oh, I saw your ankle the other day.
Uh,
Like,
uh, and so and like I really appreciate it because because like in like Next Generation or even Voyager. Voyager was like
Mhm.
in the middle of the Delta Quadrant.
Voyager is horny.
Eh, stop. Keep it in your pants. Keep it in your pants. Like
It
you had
was it
people
was a horny show. Yeah, I'm just
like
saying.
you had people like doing normal stuff, like,
Yes.
oh hey, let's play Scotch, or hey, like here's this hollow novel, blah blah blah. None of that in the season Discovery. That nothing. People don't even eat together really. And if
Yeah.
they eat together, it's because like, oh, by the way, I recognize that you have trauma. Like, let's talk about the trauma. And so there it doesn't feel lived in a way as much as it feels. So anyway, that's just me bitching again. I'm always bitching. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think it's like, when you love something, you give it feedback, you know?
There we go. There we go.
Yeah. And I agree because I think there are those moments in like, in Strange New World and a lot of the other shows, like in Lower Deck, as well. It's like there's the bar at the end of the episode, right? Like
Yeah.
there's the meetup, like we've made it, there's camaraderie, we have like a moment to like take a breath together. But I think that is unfortunately like a bit of that difference of true serialized storytelling versus episodic. And
Mhm.
like this show went real hard into serialized. And I'm wondering too, because I'm watching this one in more like in the rewatch, it's been more of like a binge mode. Like I've been having to watch like one a day or two a
Mhm.
day, essentially. Like, um, I'm wondering if I enjoy the show more week to week as it went on.
Interesting. Just so you can like not have like the
It's like the digestion of like everything that's happened because when it is all kind of shoved together, it does feel very like, whoa, there's like so much
mhm.
going on. I haven't really had time to like process everything. And so,
Metabolize the trauma.
yeah, I have to metabolize the trauma and like everything that's going on. But
Yeah, no,
yeah,
no, it's like
it's interesting.
I don't know, like it's fine. I get it. I get it. Like, I think the lightest episode or where I go like, "Oh, this is fun. I'm enjoying this." Is like the next episode, right? Is that where they do the Navarre can't join because we need some compromise and Chile
Yes.
like goes for a run.
Yeah, yeah. So we have All Is Possible, which is directed by John Ottoman, written by Alan McElroy and Eric J. Robbins. But yes, it's Navarre's fast tracking negotiations. Rillick has like demands of Burnham and Saru to kind of help push things along, because she's just like, hey, like y'all are sort of into Vulcan and Romulan people. Can you help us here? And then we have Tilly, who's like, I don't know if I belong here. And so she takes the cadets onto the planet, the
Like,
frozen
do
planet.
we know why all of a sudden? Well, I guess we do, but like as far as that, like, why didn't it really just say, "Yo, I think Navarre is going to back out. Let's figure out how to keep him in."
Yeah, it is interesting. This is where I like Rilek is such a weird character to me in some instances, because like I see what she's trying, what how they're trying to portray her, and then there's
Hmm.
episodes like this where I'm just like, you seem to be someone who's fairly direct from what we've seen in other episodes. Like you're not afraid of confrontation in the moment for
Hmm.
confrontation, and yet now you're like, hey, I need you to go like do some backdoor dealings, like
Here's my hot take again. Okay, like a lot of hot takes today.
you
Two,
got some hot takes.
too hot. Like I think she's modeled after Hillary Clinton,
I can
and
see that.
I think like I really like it because she does her freaking job.
Yeah.
Like and so like, but like for some reason, some people maybe even on this podcast might find that a little unlikable. I don't know. I support women. Can you say the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't blanket support every woman.
Fair, fair.
There's some heavy misses. Um, and I mean that in they missed the mark.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
That's
anyway,
right.
so yeah.
But
I
like you can see it,
definitely
right? Like you
Oh
can
yeah, I
see how
100% can see it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's a political animal. She's doing what
Hmm.
she needs to do, and I really appreciate that. Like I go,
Yeah.
like if a man were to do that, I would go like that's the way you're supposed to play the game.
Yeah,
And the
I think
fact that
she's playing the game well. It's just interesting to me that she like is bringing in, I feel like, people she doesn't 100% trust yet into this circle. Like, I don't know if she just sees them as like pawns to get what she wants, or if like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like
oh,
she
I
still
get
thinks of Burnham as a wild card.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's how I felt about you, but I brought you into my circle, and and it worked out okay. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
soon we'll push out Clyde because of his anti peanut hamper, agenda, which is totally fine. He could SG one away. It'd be fine.
Peanut hamper for life.
That's right. Like
The guiding principles of this show is
that's
peanut
right.
hamper for life.
If peanut hamper shows up in like season 5,
Oh,
Discovery wins. It just wins.
Discovery wins.
That's right.
I
That's
need
right.
peanut hamper.
That's right.
Never
But like,
happened.
but yeah, the fact that Rillick is part Cardassian makes it so like
Yeah.
slightly. It's so cool and like slightly racist, which which is pretty good too. Oh well, you're a political animal because of your Cardassian blood. It's just so terrible, and yet it
Ugh.
works so well.
They love it. It would only be better if she was part Klingon.
Like
It would have
a
been
little
great.
Romulan as well. Like
Yeah, why not? Let's just throw everyone we've considered villains of the
that's
series
right. That's
into
right.
this one president.
So I don't know. Like I like her character. I really like her character.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
like
so Chippy brings up an interesting point. Is the reason that she chose her because Michael is a wild card? I mean, I think it was more like, hey, you grew up on Vulcan. I think you know how to talk to Vulcans probably a little bit better than I can. But
and I think for all of it, I also think that Burnham solves problems. I think in the
yeah.
end, like Burnham has proven herself as a capable person who does what it takes and finds solutions that other people cannot find, which is very Burnham of her because she is overly takes over accountability because she's pathologically broken that way, and no
Mhm.
matter how much therapy she gets, which is none. you
She has
know
some long
pe-
chats with you.
like people tell her crap and then she goes great, but that's it, but no continual care. But
Mhm.
also like she I think you're right, like her Vulcan heritage is in play. I just don't understand why really just hey, like there's a problem here, like find out what the problem is, as opposed to like
Mhm.
hey, you want to come to a party, that's not a request.
Mm.
And that just seems like slightly weird.
Yeah. Oh, this is I like this too.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
bring it
yeah.
up.
That that
Shame
that that,
never
that
we never got a real like Giorgio scene. That would have
that
been
would be
fun.
that would be hot. That'd be hot. I think that'd been hot.
It would have been good. Some good tete-a-tete mentally. What did you think about Tilly as our kind of our first sort of backdoor pilot to the Academy series? We with the caveat we know nothing about the Academy series, but you know.
You know, I like bumbling Tilly.
Mhm.
I don't know if I like more self-possessed Tilly yet. Like, it's and I think she'll, you know, there's like Tilly and then there's Killy, right? And both of them so good. Like right now, like you you ever you ever hear the Britney Spears song not N- not a
Not
girl,
yet a
not yet a
woman.
woman? That's right.
Mhm.
Like I feel like she's
I'm
in
not a
between.
girl, not yet a woman.
All I need is time and the moment
What?
that is mine
Yeah, don't sing too much. We'll
while
get flagged.
I'm in. Oh,
We'll get flagged for copyright. Don't do it.
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, what y'all don't know is that Paul is a pop music aficionado, and it blows my mind every time.
I like to feel happy when I listen to music.
Yeah, I get it. Not everyone's a weirdo like me who's like, "Ooh, have you heard the new Kamasi Washington jazz album with the interpretive dance music video?" Love it. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I enjoy that we are at a point where Tilly, to me, I think does need to like grow in that
Mhm,
direction. And so I'm enjoying seeing the like shift over there. And I
mhm,
think the academy thing is an interesting way to do that.
mhm. Do we know if the Academy is taking place 900 years in the future?
They have not given us any
Yeah,
details
because
whatsoever.
I think that's too far. Like I don't think that would be it. I mean, it'd be really weird. Like because most of the like that's
Yeah.
900
I
years is a
don't,
long time.
it would be a long time. And I think like if you're to write like a thriving academy series, it's probably set in our 24th century again,
Yeah.
would be my
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
Especially because they did we know Tawny Newsome is a part of the writing team. And so it's like if she's already sort of living in that 24th century world of
And,
Trek
and
potentially.
truth be
But
told, like like no one really wants. Like it's a hard thing to watch Mad Max day in day out. And
mhm,
post burn, Federation is Mad Max, and like yes, you're building stuff up again, but like it's a hard watch.
yeah. So we'll see. Although Chippy just said all the disco people have said, well, it's the same time period, so we could show up. But I have
Really?
not seen anything confirming the time period.
Okay. Wow.
So
Wow. That'd be interesting. Okay.
that would be interesting.
If choice, I mean, I'd still watch it. But
Yeah, it would be interesting. I think Suniko and Doug have said, so this is what I have heard them say, is that there could be potentially some familiar faces this season on Disco. So I think there might be some reoccurring and familiar faces coming back.
Lorca, I want Lorca.
It could be Lorca. I'm still saying Ash Tyler, baby, coming back. Section
Uh,
31.
like what? How could Ash live? But Lorca, m- mycelial network. He's just living in there. I can see it. We saw. It can happen. It can happen. The real hero of disco.
Yeah.
Straight
Chippy,
white.
yeah, I saw the interview you're talking about on the red carpet. They were talking about this season of Disco. It wasn't the Academy, from what I have seen. They were talking about this season and familiar faces popping up. So 'cause someone asked on the carpet if there's any fun cameos.
Mm.
But yeah, nothing for the Academy, very tight-lipped as of yet. Okay, so episode 5, we have The Examples, which is directed by Lee Rose, who's one of my favorite TV directors. I think
Oh,
she
very
does a
good.
great
Okay,
job.
there you go.
And then written by Kyle Jarrow. Um, so we have the DMA popping around. We've got Tarka joining the ship. Okay. What were your first thoughts on Tarka?
I think Tarka's a loser.
Yeah.
I think he just gives off like major loser energy. Like like to me, like like I go like, oh God, you you just suck. Like like I don't want to have a synthale with you. I don't want like you just
Does not pass the beer test. Yeah.
yeah, it's just there's nothing about him that I find enjoyable, and the fact that Stamets likes him now, I go like, Paul, you know, you were already on thin ice with me, but
It's easy when you find someone who seems to be, I think, a good counterpoint to what you think it's like seeing someone you can see yourself in, but I don't think Paul is seeing all of the pieces quite yet.
yeah, I mean, like all Tucker has going for him is that he's really smart. That's all he
Yeah.
has, really. And I challenge you to name another quality that he has
Yeah,
that
he's seemingly nothing yet,
you
especially
like,
this early, but
I don't. He's just rendered in a way that I'm like, oh, like it would be better if it was Sheldon for me. I would accept it. I'm serious. Like if it was,
yeah.
but this is so far off of what like my bandwidth is for what like mad scientist would be. You know,
Yeah, I think it's also like it's hard for me to be like I don't know, to be like, "Oh, another smart,"
mhm,
we have a
another
lot of
smart.
smart people on this ship that I
Yeah,
feel like, I'm like, as soon as he shows up, I know something is squirrely and something is off because I'm like, normally we don't need any extra brains on this operation. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But then we go to what did you think about the prisoner escape situation and the idea of the examples?
Okay, so here once again, it is now hot take number 3.
Here we
uh,
go.
so I go like, I can see how a society can pick that. Like go like, oh, if we have like
I
a
mean, society picks that on like a huge grand scale.
well yes. So what you do is like, so just to recap, the examples like basically here's a prison and
Mhm,
at just randomly, or depending on, it doesn't matter severity of crime. You could be a murderer, you could be like a jaywalker. Like you can all of a sudden have the worst sentence ever.
mhm,
Go to jail for 30 years or whatever, for jaywalking. And the idea of that would be so that no one commits crimes, because small
mhm.
or big, because you don't know what the if you're going to get the bad lotto ticket, if you will. And
Right.
so and so in that way, if you're trying to create order, I can see how that would be, whereas in most everywhere else in the universe, there's a conversion rate, right? The amount of
Mhm.
badness you have equals how much punishment you get. So then you just start like, well, I can be this bad, you know that because punishment, the other day, my friend, he got a ticket
Your
for
friend.
my
Mhm,
friend, in Orion.
mhm,
you know, my friend got a ticket for not fully stopping at a stop sign.
mhm.
And truth be told, I've been in the car with him many times, and I've actually said, "Hey, you didn't really stop there." He goes, uh, and he. I'm gonna tell you
That's
right
why they
now.
call it a California roll, man.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you now, if it were the case that he could go to jail for 30 years, he would have stopped. So I'm not saying I prefer this. I'm just saying I can see
So
how
you're
this,
saying you are hardcore into prison.
I would, hopefully we can make prisons more profitable. That's
Boy.
for profit, for profit, like in that great movie by Britney Spears, Crossroads. For prisons, for profit prisons are the way to go. You know.
Uh,
Anyway, so
interesting.
I
Um,
in that way, here, our heroes, Burnham and Book, decide to save these 6 people who are gonna wind up going, uh, dying because,
mhm,
the DMA is.
on the
And
way, yeah.
I don't exactly know why, Burnham is there again. She is the captain. She happened to be well suited for it, but like once upon a time, it used to be Kirk and Spock and all the vital people on the ship, would go down to away missions.
Mhm.
And then 100 years passed, and then the Federation goes, let's not do that anymore. The first officer goes down because you're the captain of the ship, and there are a lot of people who depend on you. With first officers are
Yeah, I
sacrificable.
think to me, it's like, I wonder if it just is like, it took so long to get Burnham in the chair that Burnham
Yeah,
was just always the default for going on these missions, you
yeah,
know?
no, I get it. I see it. I see it. I see
Mhm.
why, and it's just it's just not a good use of captainhood. Like,
Mm.
if you're the if if I'm like the director of like a movie, and then all of a sudden like we need extension cords, I'm not gonna go drive to like Home Depot and grab extension cords. It's not a
And
good use.
unless it's a short film, in which case you probably will. But no, I get what you're saying. But I think, it does feel more. I mean, the other thing is this is like technically this crew was, came up through the Kirk era,
Yeah,
prior to Kirk era,
yeah, pre-Kirk. Yeah,
pre-Kirk, and we see, our captain on Strange New Worlds going on all these away missions
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
no, I understand, but that's
So
era appropriate.
it's era appropriate. I did really enjoy. I love the actor Michael Grey Eyes, who plays Felix, who's the
Uh-huh.
one prisoner who decides to like stay because he's like, I killed someone, and he wants to kind of give his life in this way. Although I am not someone who believes you have to give a life for a life, just personally. But
No, well,
um,
that's not what I'm going to tell people. Myrriah is all about
all
Hannah
about
Robbie.
capital
Like
punishment,
eye for an
corporal
eye,
punishment.
man. She's eye for an eye. Anyway, go on.
All the time. But anyway, I really enjoyed seeing Michael Grey Eyes, and I wish he was a character that got to stick around a lot longer because he's a great actor.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's great.
let's see. We give away the orb with the family
I,
tree.
I
Have you ever
do
done a
wonder.
family tree?
I have not. Like,
Mm,
my parents are immigrants, and I don't know if they really cared that much. I
mm,
take it back. Like, it was just not handed down to me.
yeah.
Like, and it's probably one of the reasons why I feel so, I don't say unmoored as much as free, because I'm not bound by
Mm,
my ancestors, I suppose, I guess.
mm.
I'm a true American that way. What I do matters. Everything that was
I
not
mean,
me
I like
before.
that perspective, the idea of being free versus, being unrooted. I think that's a really
Yeah,
nice metaphor, Paul.
like I'm a genius. I'm a Tarka. That's why I don't like Tarka.
Tarka.
Me and Tarka are the same.
Oh, that's an interesting point. The examples followed up on a race that Archer had made first contact with an Enterprise.
Oh, I did not know that. Like, like my
That's a
enterprise
fun
knowledge is,
fact.
yeah. You know who would know that? Clyde, because he loves Enterprise.
He does. I think he came around on Enterprise. I need to give it a go. I've only popped in and out of that series a few times, but I don't. I have no hard feelings to Enterprise, minus the theme song, but it grows on you.
Well,
So
you have the faith
yeah,
of
you
the
gotta
heart.
have faith. Yeah, if you will. It's a long road.
Getting from here to there.
Yeah.
Eh,
Okay, our final episode in this particular series is number 6, Stormy Weather, directed by Jonathan Frakes, written by Ann Kofel Sanders and Brandon Schultz. This was it actually worked out well because this was also the episode that aired right before kind of the winter holiday breaks
mhm.
for
Uh,
television. So I'm glad we're kind of following along with that. We enter what can only be described as like a weird space split. It was like the design. I don't know if I was just like because I had just gone to see Drive Away Dolls and like the sapphicness had taken over, but I was like, this just looks like a vagina in the sky. And we're just
with diamonds,
sure.
vagina in the sky.
Yeah, with diamonds. We're really going on a singing tangent this week. But no, they enter the subspace rift. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna start calling
Rift.
it from now on.
Oh, Mariah, not cool, man. I support women. This is not. This is not good. This is
I
not
support
good.
all subspace rifts,
That's
okay?
right. That's right.
They realize they can't navigate out. That poor little dot robot screaming in space was so sad.
So sad.
So
And
sad.
so what they did, like,
Um,
just turn it off.
just turn it off. And then Book tries to jump them out. He gets electrocuted and then starts having hallucinations and arguments with his dad. If you were electrocuted, who would be the last person you'd want to be hallucinating?
Last person who would want to be who would I want to see the least?
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
that you
Hmm.
think would manifest in your head for some reason.
Last person. I don't. This is tough. This is tough. Like, would the person be dead or
You don't have to be, I guess.
like,
I mean,
maybe Chris?
I guess with the book is only seeing people who he presumes to have passed, and it somehow brings him comfort that these hallucinations are some sort of vision into a spiritual realm.
Like, I feel that I'm the type of person who people either like or just don't want to hang out with me. So I don't have a lot of people who I've had a pretty uh I didn't have the best relationship with my grandmother.
Hmm.
Uh but but in that battle I won. So
You're like, you're good.
yeah, so if I saw her, strangely enough, the answer that comes, and it's gonna be a weird answer, is Christopher Reeves.
Hmm,
Because like because
that is an interesting answer.
I thought about it, I go like, here's this guy
What, what's your beef with Christopher Reeves?
it's not. I just
Oh,
I go like, oh, if I were to see Christopher Reeves, and he's like immobilized in his wheelchair, because like of the horse thing,
mhm.
it goes, I don't know if I have anything to say, and I think that awkward situation would be pretty awkward for me.
Mm,
Like, oh,
you're avoiding the awkward situation.
here you are, you are the epitome of what most people at the time considered Superman, and
Hmm.
now you can't move your pinky, like, and I think I'm a pretty good conversationalist. So what? Hey, how's life? Nope, can't use that because you're dead.
Mm. I
So-
think, yeah, it's easier if you don't like them at all. Because my answer was going to be Henry Kissinger, because then you could just like yell at him for being a
oh, really,
terrible
really,
person. Yeah.
huh? Like, I come to realize that like one of the things that I don't have that I envy in people is a strong anger response.
Mm.
Because anger, gives you energy to do stuff. And that's
Oh, yeah.
why
Spite
I'm
is quite the driver.
yeah, yeah, that's why I'm so lazy.
You're not a spiteful person, Paul.
I don't have the anger to not be lazy. I'm just so like sedentary because I'm just so not angry at people.
You're
You
ready
know,
to chill out.
I don't know. Like I would want a little more anger,
Hmm.
But anyway,
I'll loan you some. You can have some. But
yeah,
anyway, back to Trek. We have Gray and Zora, which I think was one of my favorite kind of moments of this episode. I think because it did feel like a bit of that pause. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the evolution of Zora as we have seen it through these last like season and a half.
I don't like it. I think I like it better in the next episode,
Mhm.
in the next episode from like episode 7.
Once they have to
But
have like the dilemma of what to do about Zora.
once they
Yeah.
have the talk, but
Mhm.
but it's really weird to me when imagine your car starts talking to you, and then
I
they
mean,
go,
they do
oh
that now.
yeah,
I
and then they
rode
go
in a
like, oh,
Tesla for the first time the other day and I hated it, but
and then it's like, oh, I'm starting to have feelings now.
mm,
Uh-oh. I have a hard enough time uh telling my wife to do things like literally you're on the ship and you're telling the ship to do everything. There isn't a
mhm.
time that you'll, hey, let's have a conversation, Zora, aside for like Gray, like you're and you're having feelings now too. I don't know. I don't know.
I
It
mean,
just seems a little scary.
is it any different from having to give commands to everyone else on the bridge though?
In that way, they've chosen to be there, and that's
Yeah.
their job. Zora
Mm,
did not choose to be there.
I guess that's true. That is
So
an interesting dilemma.
and it's fine for now. She's I'm assuming Zora is a she, but like they it
Mhm.
but like they're cool with it now. But like, what if they go? "Nah, I don't want to anymore." What do you do then? Do you give up the
Yeah.
ship?
I mean, supposedly in Calypso, which I think will be interesting to see if they ever tie it to Calypso by the end of next season. I know
Uh-huh.
there's been some chat about it potentially being like that's the ship in the Mirror universe is something that's also been brought up
Uh-huh.
since it seems like society sort of dropped back into weird perils with like mining and
Mhm.
disconnect in the universe. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of play with that as we head to the end. Um, but yeah, this I enjoyed Stormy Weather. I thought it was like an interesting little puzzle episode. I think I enjoyed the Gray and Zora things the most. Um, because
So
other than that, and this I did really like the sonar moment. I love when they use like old when they're like, oh, we have to remember like old school tech. I don't know why. It just like it makes me happy in a weird way. Like when they're like, oh, it's like they've had Morse code pop up
yeah,
before,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
can we use Morse code? And like the idea of sonar this time, I just thought it was fun.
For me, what I had a hard time with is okay. Everyone go in the pattern buffer, and I will guide us out. Like,
Well, captain
girl,
does go down with the ship. That is the rule.
what did Burnham do? She
She,
just sat there getting cooked in her suit, and Zora flew everyone out.
I guess it's in case Zora goes down completely. I don't know, but
Like, I don't know. There's a point where it goes, Zora, you're gonna have to take over. Okay, why are
she
you
had to
sitting
keep
there?
Zora company.
And if you just had the
But
regular
could a
operating system,
regular, but I don't think a regular computer could do that.
I don't think that's the case. Like the computer of the Enterprise was pretty smart.
I know, but then you're leaving it up to like even if she passes out and stays in the suit, it's like yes, like Zora got everyone out of the pattern buffer, so they moved her to sick bay. I guess in my mind, it probably would have been better to see like like they made it and like Burnham's the one that like beep boop beep boops everyone back in, to like make it feel more purposeful. But
This is for me. I go like, this is where you're trying to give Burnham her moment again,
mm,
and I go like, oh, like there's not a real moment here. It's not a genuine moment. You're constructing it in a way that's
it would
making
have been
me.
interesting to see how if it would have sorry
Yeah, go for it.
if like Burnham, to fully put your trust in Zora. Like, would
Like
that have worked?
it would have been like had they done had they set up the episode that way, that'd be fine. It could have literally been they go like, hey, and we need one person here to have us go through. I'll do it.
Yeah.
That would be fine. One line, but that's not what happened. So I'm going like, oh,
It's
you're
also
making
possible
it,
that line was there and then it got cut. I don't know.
but
But
then someone cut it.
yeah.
So it's just one of those things where I'm like going like, oh, I'm not understanding a lot of these choices,
Mm,
and it's causing a disconnect for me, which is really strange in the sense that like a lot of it is high quality.
mhm.
Like so like it's like it's not.
Yeah, it's like so
You
I
go.
keep cutting you off, Paul. I'm so
No, no,
sorry.
no. I keep
I
cutting you
was
off.
like,
Like
um, it's like to your point that you made earlier, like the acting is all really great this season. It's like everything looks really good. You know what I mean? Like all
mhm.
the sets and the costumes and the uniforms, like everything looks good. I don't think there's a problem with the performances. It is just like it becomes like a puzzle with too many pieces at times.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean like it just doesn't feel like it's held together very tightly as opposed to forced together.
Mm,
But then again, like, like I'm really excited about 5 because it seems like they're gonna find that balance with this basically treasure hunt.
yeah.
I'm excited to see a treasure hunt,
Yeah.
see season. Like, they're just like, hey, is it the end of the world? Maybe, but we won't know that. Like, we're just gonna we're gonna try to beat some bad guys, probably
Mhm.
Orions, because all of a sudden green is bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'll be excited for a little bit of a more grounded big bad versus like a nebulous
Hmm.
thing going through
Sure.
space, and like while we do eventually get to like the
Space
core
whales.
reasoning and the space whales behind it, but I think it is an easier sell to like have, I don't know, villains where you can try to plot what they're thinking and feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Like, because you want an adversary. You don't like
Mhm.
it's like in a way, like this season is about going up against the force of nature and going against other people. Like of your own friends.
Mhm.
It's like there are four conflict: man versus nature, man versus something, man versus some him,
Man versus man,
and man versus
man
himself.
versus self. Yeah.
And so this is a lot of man versus self kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Because like we're all one team, and we're just screwing up against nature, you know.
Mhm.
So so I mean, some more man versus man and man versus society might be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Would be interesting. Any other thoughts on this first half of the season?
Any other thoughts? No, no, no. Less Tarka.
We got more Tarka coming,
I
unfortunately.
know, I know, I know.
Although I do like the episode where we get the backstory. It was anyway, but we'll get there. Just as a heads up, y'all, we are going to be skipping next week. It's a big festival week in Austin, and things pop up. So it was just to kind of get ahead of ourselves and to give us a little bit of a break as we prep for the last half of season 4. And then, y'all, it's about to be season 5 time. It's coming up fast. Um, I'm excited to see it. They are premiering it here at South by Southwest. I'm trying to see if I can get they're selling individual tickets, but they're like the last people loaded into the theater. So we'll see if I can get in.
Mm.
Also,
You,
they're
you,
$30.
did you tell them that you are a part of Star Trek Discovery Pod?
I did email Paramount, and they originally responded and were like, "Oh, that's good to know. We're starting our list." But then I think the people we usually email with might have been let go because Paramount had some layoffs. So I have to figure out if they're still around.
Oh no.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so we'll see.
Well,
Um, but yeah, thanks y'all for tuning in. If you joined us live, thank you for listening. If you are one of our listeners, we so appreciate you. And hey, share the show with a friend. Do you have a friend who you want to get to like Star Trek? You should point them to our podcast. Maybe you could be like, hey, here's people who can chat you through and talk about what's happening in here and explain all the things. We've got a huge back catalog talking about all of Discovery. We've got plenty of rewatches here available. So, see if you can talk a pal into joining you on the adventure through the last season of Discovery. You can subscribe, rate, and review on Apple and on Spotify. Please leave us a review on Apple. We really appreciate it. It helps other people find the show. Visit StarTrekPod.co for links to everywhere you can find us, as well as to our Patreon. Also, if you check the link down below, you can get merch. We've got stickers, we got t-shirts, we got peanut hamper themed merch, y'all. And we know you want it. Follow us on
maybe we should make a Tarka thumbs down.
Tarka thumbs down. Boo, Tarka. I can see if we can make that. Yes, please buy some merch if you like it. There's some fun designs in our shop. You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Star Trek Pod. We will see you all on March 21st. Until then,
Okay.
live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.